speaking beyond our borders, on land, on the seas and in the air. This is the Chief Koti Show.
Thank you so much for joining me for yet another exciting and explosive edition of the Chief Koti Show. It is the man himself, the name ahead of the game. You know the story, and we always bring you nothing but the very best as far as conversations are concerned, where we talk about leadership and the people behind those leaders, so the real people. And this time around, I happen to be in this beautiful jewel of Africa called Zambia. And of course, I've had an immensely great time exploring the product. I have been to Livingstone. I've seen the Victoria Falls from another angle that I've never seen in my entire existence. And I tell you what, it was absolutely amazing. And the man who made it possible is here with me. Matongo, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Nice seeing you in Zambia, Chief.
Thank you so much for getting me to come, finally.
Yes.
It's been such a long time trying to get this to work.
Yeah, but finally it's here. We thank God that you are here and you have had a beautiful experience.
Fantastic. So this man, he is the current Chief Executive Officer of the Zambia Tourism Agency, and we are going to be talking about him as a leader, and of course just to get an insight on what they are doing in Zambia as far as tourism is concerned, and you know, the country in general. He's a man of many talents. He's been in the sugar industry, he's been in investment. Do you ever stop?
The fact that I'm a human being, I'll have to stop at some point.
At some point, yes. Yeah, but not now.
No, I think I still have a bit more energy to give.
Yeah.
And then, of course, passionate about my country.
Mm-hmm.
So until I'm comfortable that I've coached enough young people to take over, I'll hang around for a little while.
Fantastic. At least I'm benefiting also from the coaching. I can tell you I've been enjoying my time around this man. But perhaps we'll start with the way it starts. Yeah. Who is Matongo?
Wow. I probably need like 5 to 6 hours to really talk
at
about
least it's not.
it.
At least it's not towards the 50 years.
Yeah. I'm obviously over 50 years now, so I think it's quite a long journey.
Yeah.
But I'm of course a family man, a husband of one wife. I'm an Adventist by faith. So we believe that you should only have one wife at a time. And God blessed us with the two gentlemen. They are gentlemen now.
Yeah.
Because they don't want me to call them children anymore.
I can imagine.
They are all in their late 20s now,
Okay.
and quite independent. They have been done with their university education.
So you live in an empty nest, is it?
Yes, and that gives me a bit more time now to give to my country. Like I indicated, I'm quite spiritual. I'm an Adventist by faith, ordained as an elder in my church. So I do find time to evangelize, preach and share the gospel, other than me working for government and obviously spending a bit more time with young people, coaching. I do find time in my busy schedule to go to university also to give lectures. So I have an academic life of close to 15 years. And yeah, so in a nutshell, that's what evolves around my life. So that's who Matongo is. I'm an ordinary person. For the record, I've never aspired to be a celebrity. I've never aspired to be perceived as a very, very important person. I would want to be seen as an ordinary person, but who can make a difference in people's lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know about ordinary, but you've done well in your journey. And going far back to your educational background, to where you are today, what would you say has been the thing that has kept you going in this life?
I think probably, you'll probably find this quite strange. I come from a very, very humble family. Both my parents were teachers. But just as a family, when I was growing up, most of my uncles, my aunties, for reasons of being disadvantaged, as they call it, most of them didn't go very far in school. They didn't have opportunities to even go to university. And because of that, we maintained having the simple, basic life that we live. And out of that, I started having this desire that probably I could push myself a bit more and inspire a lot more people in my family, whether it's in my career, whether it's in my academics. So I'll be lying if I tell you that I have ever had someone to mentor me or someone who was inspiring me or a role model per se. I've never had such. It's me just thinking, I know the life I don't want to live.
Okay.
And then I vision what life I want to, and I said, let me try it and see how far I can go. So that pushed me in academics and go all the way from studying for an undergraduate to a master's to a doctorate, being pushed by the fact that I wanted someone in my family one day to say, even if you have this background, you can go all the way. Again, in my career, I just decided, started simple level as a trainee in the early 90s. And again, I aspired that I should go all the way and become a chief executive officer of an organization.
And you've made it.
So that I can inspire someone in my family to say, regardless of your background, you can also go without having connections and knowing someone in a high office, go all the way and become a chief executive officer. And obviously, my other aspiration, which I haven't achieved, I still maintain my academic side. I still hope one day to attain a title of a professor, even if it's in my old age, so that those in my family who desire to go the academic route, they can also see that from an ordinary background, you can go all the way and become a professor in the academic, because I think every human being, we have enough intellectual capacity to become professors. It's just commitment and time. So that's my inspiration. I don't know if it makes sense.
It does make sense, a lot of sense. We're learning a lot from you and your story. And of course, when you look at your journey within your professional life now, you said you started out as a trainee, now you're a chief executive. Just briefly take us through your life in the sugar industry. I think that's where you spent most of your time, and then also crossing over into government, and perhaps what inspired you to get into that industry in the first place, or how did you end up there?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting, nice story. Again, like I indicated earlier, that one of my weaknesses, if you may call that, I rarely consult other people. I consult myself, and I pray about it. So you can probably call it consulting God. And then I'm very decisive and I make decisions. And of course, after I got married, I started also consulting my wife. But my influencing skills are so high that even when I consult, I almost get what I desire to get. But carry people along with me. I probably look more for endorsement than being told what to do. So yeah, you can call it a weakness. It has its own advantages. So I started when I was still a student in my third year. I struggled a bit financially because I couldn't go back to ask for resources from my parents. The last money I got from my parents was transport money to go to university. And I was privileged during that time that we were paid the allowances in university and I could take care of myself. But as I went into my third year, I thought I could find a job. Jobs were not as difficult today. So I got a job as a part-time sales agent or sales rep. So I'll have lectures in the morning, in the afternoon, I go to run around to look for business. They paid me a commission. And that's where my passion for marketing started, because I was selling. And that organization, which is an international brand called Rank Xerox, beyond when I graduated, they gave me the first offer of a job as a sales trainee, and I went and joined them. So for the first 1.5 years of my career, I worked for Rank Xerox, but based in Zambia. And that's how my sales career started. Beyond that, then I went into the breweries, worked in the brewery industry for close to...
How was that as a Christian?
I was of a different faith
Oh,
then.
you were getting high on your own supply.
No. I was of a different faith now.
Okay.
In Zambia, we've got a church called the United Church of Zambia, which has a background from the Methodist.
I see.
And that's what my parents were. So that was my faith then. Before I got converted into being an Adventist. And during that time, I drank, I went out and did what my church could tolerate then. So I went in the beer industry. And you'll be interested to know that my fastest growth in my career was in the breweries. Oh, because I was put on a 2 years management training program, which was cut after 1 year, 2 months, that I was ready to be appointed into a position.
Wow.
Fast tracks, it didn't take me long. I was in management and I was appointed the regional sales manager. Within a short period, I was a national sales manager. And that happened before I was 30.
Wow. Blistering speed.
It didn't look difficult then, but I look back now, I'm looking at my age and I'm just saying, okay, this was interesting. But I had to leave at the peak of that career, which was very, very exciting, because I got converted to a different faith, which is the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
So you actually left the job because you couldn't?
I couldn't continue.
Aligning
yes, a huge disappointment to the management team then. I had a general manager or a marketing director who really loved my attitude and helped me a lot to build that career. When I broke the news to him that I had to leave, he thought I was going to join competitors. So I had to explain to them. And he was an expatriate who didn't have a very strong spiritual side. I could tell that even if he agreed, he didn't really understand what I was explaining. That what kind of faith stops you from drinking and you are still a decent man? But I had to look around for an alternative job. I didn't just stop. And then an offer came in the sugar business where I went into sales, from sales into marketing. I did export, which is international marketing. So ultimately, out of 9 years in the beer industry, I went to spend 18 years in the sugar industry. Wow. But I did 5 different roles. And that really built my management and leadership skills.
In a multinational?
Multinational. And during the time I worked there, it changed ownership, I think, 3 times. And that was also
stressful.
It was not necessarily, because I was open-minded. And I found it interesting to work with different nationalities. If you sat in a management team, you had someone who was Indian, who was Zimbabwean, who was South African, who was European, and sometimes cultural clashes, but they were necessary. And I didn't realize it was building me for my next role, which eventually, obviously, I decided to go into a quasi-government entity. It was the most difficult decision in my career.
I can imagine. The multinationals, they pay well, they take care of you well, and then here you are coming to government. What prompted that decision?
It was extremely difficult in the sense that there's no way any of the government agencies could have matched the kind of conditions I had. But I think I also got bored working in the sugar sector and all there. And then at that point, there were changes that were going on in the organization. I had my eyes on certain roles in the group, and they didn't come my way. So small dosage of frustration for not getting what I was desiring, and I thought I was the best guy for it. So that was a catalyst for making this decision to do something different. But because in my last role, I was in charge of corporate strategy and business development. So I worked across the business, and the sugar business is huge. It runs from, like the entity I worked for, we had our own agriculture outfit. So you understand the agriculture side of it. The agriculture division of the company I worked for was bigger than any single agriculture entity in Zambia. So it was a business on its own.
Massive.
And then the operational side, which is the factory side where the sugar is produced. I worked for an entity that had the biggest sugar mill in Africa. So that was an organization on its own. And then the distribution side, all this stock being put in warehouses, distributing it, and some of our largest clients were in Europe to ensure that that grain of sugar reaches Russia, Portugal. It was a whole business on its own.
Wow.
So with that exposure, it was very interesting. I learned quite a lot, but obviously it was difficult to leave because I got emotional attached to the business. But of course, like I said, I consulted, and I think my wife had seen that I was desiring for something different. But I think I didn't hide, but I shared my frustration for not getting the two roles that I was targeting.
Yeah.
I could have been a bit patient to get them, but I was also counting my years.
Yeah.
And at that point, I was right far behind my target of becoming a CEO. With that
You're
inspiration.
two roles behind.
Yeah. So that's the inspiration I wanted to give to my family.
Yes.
And when I was counting, I said I'll end up finding myself in retirement without attaining what I wanted to.
Were you writing these things down, or it was just in your mind somewhere?
No. I'm gifted when it comes to how my brain operates. I rarely write things. I don't even write speeches. My team will tell you that they'll talk through the speech that I have. When I try to read the speech, I get confused. What? I'll start slowing down and trying to reorganize. So I never
you shoot from the hip.
I never like reading speeches, but I work for government. If we diverted a bit, in government, just for safety reasons and to ensure the media quotes you right, sometimes I'm compelled to read speeches, especially if I'm reading on behalf of someone else. If my minister or permanent secretary gives me a speech to read, I'll read it. I'll dose it with a bit of my own, but I'll read it. But if it's my own speech, I'll not read it. I would prefer mastering it and speak from my head.
From the head.
But remember, I'm also a lecturer.
Yeah, so...
And when I go to teach, I gave a 3-hour lecture from my head.
Wow.
So that develops your skill to store and remember things. So my best diary is my brain.
Okay. So now that you are part of the movement that is shaking Zambia, as it were, it's a new phenomenon, new government that came in a couple of years ago, going back to elections very soon. Do you think you have done what you set to do as far as representing your interests as a Zambian into the Zambian government?
I think so. I mean, there's always room to do more. Like the adage goes that the biggest room anywhere is room for improvement. But remember that I joined the government system on the investment promotion side.
Yes.
So I worked for an agency that did investment promotion, international trade and development of SMEs, and I spent 5 years there. I was privileged at the time I was leaving. I was heading that institution, and I worked across the ministries. I worked with the office of the head of state. I traveled on state visits, gave me that exposure. But I had to cut it at some point because obviously there are certain principles that are personal. And when we worked in that government, certain things I did not agree. And sometimes I was a bit uncomfortable with my spiritual background. So I went to negotiate with my board chair then and decided that I resigned. So I resigned and went to university to teach in academics. New government came, they saw the manifesto. I believed in the leader of the new government, and I said, this is what I was looking forward to. I sought an opportunity to come back and work in that government. They gave me an opportunity to come and run the tourism agency. And right from the beginning, we set ourselves with my minister and permanent secretary, who I'm privileged. They come from a marketing background. They come from private sector.
They're both marketers, yeah.
So it was a meeting of minds, and that was exciting. So we sat together. They endorsed with my board, which is chaired by a 100% private sector person. So we set ourselves a target. To give you an indication, at that time we are struggling to get 1 million tourists in internationally, but we set a target that by 2026, before we go into elections, we should hit 3 million international tourists.
And how's that going so far?
As at end of last year, which was 2024, we hit 2.2 million. We are looking for 800,000 tourists to come and would have hit the 3 million. and we have time up to the end of 2026.
26, yeah. Year. So that's a very complex industry.
Yes.
Obviously, you were working with it through your investment life.
Yes.
How has it been for you to adjust and get to understand this semi, private public sort of partnership with the tour operators and everybody else that is within the sector?
I must admit that it wasn't as difficult. If I had not worked in investment promotion, maybe I was going to have challenges. Yeah. Remember, in investment promotion, you facilitate private investors to come into yours. So it's more or less just the flip side of what I was doing. So of course, yes, the tour operators are slightly different because they are already invested and they have their own plans. So a few challenges here and there, but obviously what you learn to do in government. If you're a CEO of a government entity, your priority is on top 5, if I may share that. Number 1 will be stakeholder engagement. Number 2 is stakeholder engagement. Number 3 is stakeholder engagement.
That's what you do.
So I invested a lot into that, and within a short period, I think they believed in our vision. And then, of course, I had to assemble a team, a few changes in my own team, brought in a few young people who worked in private sector who can speak the language of private sector, and then we painted this as an entity that is not government, but also not private.
But how difficult is it now, Matongo, when you are now you're running this multinational, money is not an issue. If they just throw money at the problems actually within the multinationals. There's a challenge with environmental what put money there, solve the problem. Now you are in a position where you have to convince people to give you money. How has been the funding of the Zambian Tourism Agency since you took over?
Oh, it's tough, I must admit. Very, very tough, because you need to compete with all other sectors. And tourism was never like a primary priority sector for our country. As you are aware, we are predominantly copper. So the mining side gets priority. Food everywhere in the world is a priority. So agriculture comes in. And then we started now building on the energy side. So energy also became a priority as you develop the country. And then obviously others, they want something that is physical. If you have hotels, there are no roads. You don't go anywhere. So infrastructure development also became a priority. So you start seeing that on your priority line, you are coming as tourism at number 5. And the funding model is they'll fund you according to which one is considered as such.
Absolutely. So and some are huge in size.
So the biggest challenge was how do we get tourism to be in the top 2 so that when we are being funded, we are in the top 2. And I think that's what we crafted very well. But the little money they gave us in the initial stages, we made sure that there was a return on investment and it was visible. And we used that card now to ask for more and more and more. We are on a funding that is in excess of 300% more than where we were at the time I joined.
Also, it means you've done your job very well in the stakeholder management.
Stakeholder management, and prove that there's a return on investment.
Of course.
We have a president, by the way, who comes from private sector.
So he's a businessman himself.
Return on investment is always being communicated to us. If you show it, they will give you more money because then you have more money coming. So that's how we have navigated around that, and I think we are in a good space. Even going forward, we see the sector benefiting a lot more out of it.
Talking about the president himself, I saw a picture that I was looking at on social media where you had a side smile. You were visibly happy. And the president was also looking at you with that side smile as well, visibly happy. Recently signing a very big contract with the BBC and Expedia. Care to share with us what that is about, really?
I mean, exciting moments. Of course, I think the body language could speak.
It spoke a lot.
We desired to do over a long period of time. And obviously, in a few meetings with the head of state, he keeps on hammering, I want to see this, I want to see this. So that body language communication with the president was just simply me smiling to the president and saying, I have followed your instruction and I've delivered.
Yeah.
And then the president smiles back and says, yes, I hear you. Do a bit more. He's always demanding for more. So I got the cue, and that's what we are going to do.
Yeah.
But coming to the BBC and Expedia signing is obviously, Chief, you come from around the region, and you know that we have struggled in the region to communicate these fantastic God-given tourism products we have. Our colleagues from the West, whether it's Europe, the US, they have big budgets for holidays. They don't know what we have. And the biggest challenge we've had is to communicate the product. Professionally, we call it marketing the product. To market the product, you need the resources, but you also need other stakeholders. You need the vehicles to do that.
Who are believed out there.
Yes. And so us engaging with BBC with their platform, and I can just give you off the cuff some numbers. When we are going through the process of dealing with BBC, we discovered that they have a reach on all their platforms, traditional and social. On a weekly basis, they have a reach of 500 million people in the world.
They're massive,
I'm talking about if you sign with them and say, look, we have this product, we want to communicate, help us to communicate. And I'm using simple language. In marketing, I would call it different. We engage them. We have seen who you are communicating to. 500 million people every week. We want to ride on that. How can you communicate this product that the world needs to know? We put our adverts there. We put our products there. Every week we have an exposure reach of 500 million people. And then we sign in an agreement or a contract for 6 months. So meaning for 6 months, that's the exposure we are getting. And when I did my numbers, return on investment, our projection is that by the end of 6 months, on a weekly, monthly, up to that end of the period, we are looking at an exposure of close to 12 to 13 billion people would have seen what we have to market.
Which is massive,
And that's the basis, and that's the excitement, and that's the smile you saw. Expedia, on the other side, 300 million on a monthly basis, people searching for holidays on their platform. We signed that agreement. Every month, you have 300 million on Expedia trying to search for holidays, and they see the Victoria Falls, the safaris in Zambia right in their face. There's nothing better than that for us to communicate the product. So in simple terms, all I'm saying is, both campaigns are meant to build awareness. We want to build from where we were with a very low awareness level in those countries where BBC is broadcasting. So that's the real deal.
So I've seen you've done a lot of things real quick. Steve Harvey has been here as well. That was your initiative. Perhaps just shed a bit of light of what kind of arrangement maybe that is or that was with one of the biggest broadcasters. Very interested, of course.
I mean, and look, in the tourism sector, we've got what we call farm trips, familiarization trips. You want people who have influence to be familiar with your product. So whether they are celebrities, whether they are journalists, anyone who has a platform. And I was privileged. We're in London at WTM. I engage. I'm always engaging. I'm a marketer by profession. So you engage where you see opportunities for friendship and what. I got to engage with some of the close associates of Steve Harvey. Interesting conversation. And I'm quick to share what we have. And say, oh, look, I can link you up some of the celebrities. I said, that's what we are looking for. He says, no, but Steve Harvey, when are you leaving London? I said, in the next 3 days. He says, oh, I'm also leaving the same. Where to? I'm going through Dubai. He says, okay, I'm also traveling to Dubai. Coincidentally, we're on the same flights. We get into Dubai. During that time, Steve Harvey was actually in Abu Dhabi. So I got this connection. I made an effort, linked up with Steve Harvey. He agreed to meet with me. I don't know, he rarely meets people he's difficult to meet.
Absolutely.
But remember, I'm an elder in my church. I think the spirit communicated to him.
He's very spiritual as well.
And he's extremely spiritual. So our spirits.
They collided. And
he agreed. Same day, we're in Dubai early in the morning, 6 in the morning. And he agreed to do lunch with us. And we met, we had a conversation. And he says, look, if that's what you have to offer, are you going to give me an opportunity to meet with your head of state? I said, look, he's a businessman. He knows this stuff. I can try. I don't have the powers, but I put in my permanent secretary. This is my boss in the government. He speaks to the president. Can we have a conversation? And my permanent secretary agrees. 2 days later, we are back into Zambia. He secured an appointment, and that's how we brought Steve Harvey.
Did you pay Steve Harvey?
No.
Obviously? No way.
No.
He came for free?
It's business. We just show him that he can get a lot more out of Zambia in the future than just a paycheck.
Okay.
We started the conversation. He met with our president. He met with our minister. He has future plans for
lots of collaborations
for Zambia. So for that moment, we didn't need to pay, but he agreed to give us his visibility. We never paid a single ngwe. He spent one full day. He came with his own charter, and he left the same day. But we have bigger plans to do with him in future, which I might not disclose now because they're at a high-level conversation. He's a businessman. He saw business opportunities. So it would definitely be a win-win situation.
Absolutely.
But I got my win.
Oh, it was a big win. It was a big win.
But there's a second one coming, and I'm hoping that will work out and we can even get more and more visibility.
Fantastic. Well, you know the place to come and do business in Zambia. I'm hoping also to do the Steve Harvey kind of business through my big brother here, Matongo. Now, taking you away from tourism, but still with marketing, you were part of the founders of the Africa Marketers Confederation. What's that about?
Well, again, it's opportunities coming your way. I'm a very spiritual person, so I don't believe in coincidences. I don't believe in fate. I think when you are prayerful and you are praying for so many things to happen, sometimes God unleashes these things at different times, even when you don't expect, and He uses different people. And I always consider myself as a person God uses outside the spiritual framework into the corporate. So yes, I was privileged to serve as president of the Zambia Institute of Marketing, which is the umbrella body for professionals in marketing. And during that time, we had arranged for our own conference, and I invited speakers from Zimbabwe. An old friend of mine, Godfrey, then was president for Marketers Association of Zimbabwe, and then I'd invited the Institute of Marketing Management from South Africa, and Helen and Nigel, who were running it, they also came as speakers. And during our breakfast, we started talking about some of the challenges African marketers have, that all the books written in marketing, all the curriculums in the universities, all the strategies used by multinationals, they don't actually speak to what Africa needs. How can we be part of that influence? And that was the base of the African Marketing Confederation. So we, the 3-4 of us, started that conversation and pushed it to another agenda and another agenda. And now we are talking of close to maybe 15, 16 years.
Wow.
And there we are now. We have a working African Marketing Confederation. I just serve as a consultant now because I'm out of the mainstream of the institute. But I do work with Helen is our president at African level. And now the last brief we had, we have 26 African countries that subscribe to that. The only role I'm playing now is I'm bringing the tourism aspect. Having spent time in tourism, I realize there's no tourism anywhere without marketing. And we need to bring the professional marketing there. Helen was gracious enough to engage with me as a consultant, linked up with the United Nations Tourism, where now African Marketing Confederation is an affiliate member of United Nations Tourism. But fast forward, next month, which is August 2025, we are going to this big event where the tourism chapter of the African Marketing Confederation is going to be launched, and it will be working with the United Nations Tourism.
Massive stuff.
That's how far we've come.
You held the Brand Africa conference here under the United Nations. How were the linkages there together with marketing and trying to create a narrative about Africa? And how successful was that?
Again, huge privilege, and I always give thanks to my permanent secretary and my minister, because when I propose things like that, they are marketers, they understand.
Mm-hmm.
We did a bid to host the Brand Africa Summit under the auspices of United Nations Tourism.
Yeah.
And we held it in Livingstone, and I was given the privilege as a host CEO to host other CEOs from African tourism boards.
Mm-hmm.
Huge success, but we also put in marketing agents, brand experts. Never seen such a meeting before, meeting of all marketing brands in Africa. And part of it now is this resolution that we put in African Marketing Confederation and United Nations Tourism here. And this is what is giving birth to what I'm talking about coming there. Part of that conversation is to say, let's not, as African Marketing Confederation, run with the branding side of Africa on our own, and also United Nations Tourism run with a parallel strategy. How can we put these together and make a huge impact on branding Africa? And branding Africa, as you are aware, tourism is at the center of that, and I think that's what we are trying to achieve.
Of course.
Exciting moments.
Absolutely exciting. I think time is always an enemy. I have to let you go because I know you're a very, very busy man. You've taken so much time out of that schedule to be with us here. We appreciate that time, by the way. But your thoughts and perhaps your advice to youngsters that want to be like Matongo when they grow up?
Well, I mean, in simple language, is one, you need to have your own vision as an individual, which should come from your inner self. God always reviews why he created you. There should be a purpose. Find that purpose. Put in your career aspiration, put in your family aspiration, put in your country aspiration. If you separate that from your inner desire and vision, somewhere on the way you get confused. I think that's what worked for me. Number two is consistency, because you know what you want. Sometimes it doesn't come easily. There will be setbacks, there will be frustrations, but keep the eyes on the ball, as most people say. There will be hurdles. Even in our spiritual lives, there are hurdles. So what about in your corporate? I think consistency, and then obviously, ultimately, just try to be a good person. The Bible easily shows us. And I've read a few other spiritual books, the Quran, the Bible, the Torah. What is consistent there is that at the center of everything we do is there's this word called love for other people and love for your Creator. If you embed it in there, it's very easy to see what you need to do at a particular time. It takes you away from mischief. It takes you away from fighting other people. It takes you from, if you fight, you are fighting for a good cause because you are doing what is right. But again, I will emphasize consistency is very, very important. But take others along. And I think for me, if you forget everything else I've said, because I coach people, I inspire people. That's my leadership style.
Yeah.
Every moment I have, I want to coach people because I always want to replicate myself and I want to replace myself eventually. So for young people, aspire, be consistent, do what is right. If you can, be spiritual, because it will keep you on that path. I think that will be my message. Spirit
is what has led us to Zambia. Spirit is what is going to keep us moving. I would like to really say thank you so much to Matongo for joining us. He is the Chief Executive Officer of the Zambia Tourism Agency. I've been so accustomed to selling Zimbabwe so much. Right? Everywhere I talk about it. But thank you so much for making time, and greetings to the missus and the two boys. Hopefully they grow up to be what you want them to be. And perhaps
God willing.
God willing,
yeah. God willing. Thank you so much.
God is at the center of everything. Remember to take care of your loved ones at every other time. My name is Chief Koti. And
speaking beyond our borders, on land, on the seas and in the air. This is the Chief Koti Show.